Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Neil Murray and Tam Cowner with me on this Tuesday. Delighted that you could join us. Hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. If you hit the bell, you'll get all the notifications of when we have our live content and of course our new video content. There's lots of great stuff coming up and coming out on Friday. I think something that you really will like, and we'll give you a little sneak preview of it in the next couple of days, is my story. David Martindale of Livingston gave us access all areas. We followed him everywhere, from his house to the work, to the game, and met everybody in the back room, and he was an absolute joy, Ruffy. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it coming out because there's no holds barred. We haven't bleeped anything out. It is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I thought the time we had them in the show, I don't know if Tam was in that day with David.
No, I saw it though.
It was absolutely magnificent.
Yep.
You know, it's what you want to see in a manager. Somebody's just like a punter, just sit there, he's talking to us, telling us as it is. He doesn't seem to hide anything at all. You can see it in his after game post as well. You know, he's just great. He's just great to listen to, and I'm sure that'll be great if you're there with him the whole day. Yeah,
absolutely. It was magnificent. I'm almost certain Davey is one of those guys who will get another job somewhere. Not that I want him to get Livingston to get rid of him, or him to leave Livingston right now, but I'm almost certain somebody will look at what he's doing, look at his coaching ability, and give him that big job. But it's a really good fly in the wall feel about it. It's very difficult at times, Neil, to get that kind of access with managers. Sometimes they're so guarded.
Yeah, I think in this day and age managers are guarded in a lot of ways, but we know David Martindale is a good character, and you know, you can see by his press conferences after match, he is brutally honest about his own team's performance, sometimes even about his own substitutions. What you see is what you get, and I think sometimes that's lost in modern football, so it's quite refreshing to have it now and again.
Yeah, I like characters like that, Tam. I mean, Antonio Conte let rip the other day there, but I think that was because he was at the end of his tether. Yeah. Whereas, you know, there's a few managers down through the years that I used to rub my hands and think, here we are, we're into a good press conference here.
Although as well, Antonio Conte, like David Martindale, maybe very, very down to earth. He was pictured, was it yesterday or the day before, on a budget airline flight? When he was packed, did you see the photo? And he was on a flight wherever he was going, maybe a wee visit back home or whatever, but he was rammed in with families and all that, and put on bedlam, and that was it. You'd have thought he'd have had a private jet almost, or certainly sitting down the front of a plane, but no, he was in with the troops. But that's what I love about David Martindale, and you know, the guy has reinvented himself. You still hear every now and again Snyder's folk on online and that, having a wee pop at his past, but the guy did everything absolutely right. And you know, depends your outlook in life, but I'm always somebody that says you give a fella a second chance, and he's grabbed it with both hands, you know, so good on him.
I agree with you, Tam.
I think Adam was doing I saw a clip of that, getting a wee bit of training and making a backside of himself.
Well, that's priceless, because Adam, who is our reporter, Neil, is shyness personified, and he just bragged that much that he was a great footballer, so we decided to put him in the test in front of a Premiership manager. And
it appears that futsal is far different from an 11-a-side pitch.
Totally different, by the way. That's the great thing about it, and you'll see it. I mean, the worst thing to do, Tam, is if you do make a back end of yourself in a video, the last thing you want is 3 cameras and a drone following you while you're doing it. And we managed to get them all, so you'll get every angle on it, Ruffy, as Davy Martindale leathers them as well at the end of it.
I had a wee Vietnamese style flashback there, and this was caught on camera. Sadly, I had been invited. It was a pre-season game, Ayr United against Motherwell, and this would be about, I don't know, 15 years ago, and me and my mate Jack were going to get into the game, right? But I thought, well, if we're doing it Ayr, when we'll get doing early, I'll get a wee restaurant review done during the day. Cut a long story short, the restaurant was superb, the wine was flowing, the drinks were flowing, might even been a wee glass of port or something after it. The two of us were absolutely rubber, right? And it was about 6 o'clock, and we thought, right, it's a pre-season friendly, come on, we'll go on the train, we'll get back up the road, we're not going to do that, right? But I had kind of promised one of the guys that he was wanting a cheque presentation for a charity at the club at half time, right? And I said, I better go. So I went along, and it turns out it wasn't that. He was wanting me to do just that at half time, and it was announced early tannoy. what he was also wanting me to do was take part in a penalty shootout thing with the goalie, right? Now, honestly, I was delighted at that point I was rubber, because I'm very, the odd don't crap on your own doorstep thing. There was Motherwell guys that I knew, guys that I grew up with, you know, and it's hideous. So I was there with what I would call, I had a nice pair of jeans on, I had a pair of what you would call dress shoes, and I get brought onto the pitch to take these penalties with the big slip-on shoes and all that. Made a complete tit of myself, you know. Fell out at the last one, minging, absolutely black, and then trudged off the park, and I thought, nah, leave it to the professionals, you know what I mean? Yeah. You a penalty taker, Neil?
Nah, not really.
No, right.
Just out of curiosity, I've never heard of a Vietnamese flashback, have you? You're bringing out the phrases today, by the way.
Well, when you watch all the films, the guys that were in Nam,
oh yeah,
then years later they have the flashbacks.
All right, born
It's called something else, they've the initials now.
Born on the 4th of July.
TSD.
Aye, there you go, see, Neil knows.
Okay, well done, Neil, excellent stuff. Also, we've got lots of people who like to interact with us, so thank you very much. We'll try and answer some of your points. Every now and then we get leathered, but we take it on the chin, as we mentioned to you. As long as you try and keep it as decent as possible, we'll try and read them out as well, because we don't mind getting battered, Ruffy, do we?
No, McManus is getting it big time, and
yeah,
he's just stepped over the line, hasn't he?
He has. There's a lot of people, actually. I think he's got to that point now where there's people just veering towards it. They don't like him.
Yeah, traffic police.
What's it like, Tom? Anyway,
saying, by the way, let's kind of a wee gloat, but I didn't even know. I didn't look. I don't know if I'd resigned myself to non-stop failure with the predictions, but 16 points I got at the weekend.
Well, hang fire, because I'm just coming to that. Just let's do the quiz question first, because depends on whether you read papers or not, whether you're in the know on this one. So, who is the oldest goal scorer in Serie A, and what age is he? So if you think you know the answer, fire it down, and we'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. And I can just tell you that a lot of people look and think sometimes, oh, they talk about Celtic and Rangers quite a lot, but do they cover other teams? Well, we do extensively cover lots of teams. I think 10 years roughly we've been famed for that. And the great thing about our viewers and our listeners and our podcasters is they come from all over the place.
Yeah, we've had players for every division, you know, and players in every division coming in and giving us a wee act.
In fact, sometimes we've had players in, and then the newspapers just copy it and put it out a week later as an exclusive, don't they?
Yeah.
But that's what happens. I'm just saying that so that they can record it, just getting it on their podcast for next week. Well done to Keith Berry from Kirkcaldy, no less, who's the winner of our competition from last week. So he gets an extra large legendary poster, and he wants a black XL Maestro top, Ruffy, which great. I think will be great. It's great for the golf and everything.
Yeah,
so
great. You can use them any time at all.
Yep, absolutely. It's almost as if Ruffy was reading a script there. So, so what about the competition for this week? If you're a Hibby, you're going to be well pleased.
It's another unbelievable competition from PLZ Soccer. You can win these fantastic Geo Thompson prints, including this signed print of Hibs legend Pat Stanton, commemorating Hibernian's 2016 Scottish Cup win, if you answer this simple question. Who scored the winning goal in that memorable Cup final against Rangers? Post your answer in the comment section below, and to double your chances of winning, don't forget to subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with the competition. 3 great prints in the frame as well, Ruffy, because you like things in the frame so that it costs me more in the postage.
Yeah, but none of these are top quality, and obviously Pat being the legend there at Hibs, and everything that is good about Hibs is in these pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing worse than a guy who was really great at football, brilliant captain, and good looking as well. He's a right good looking guy, Pat Stanton, when he was younger.
I never really looked at him at that when he was my manager at Hibs. I never sort of took that.
Listen, guys know when there's a good looking guy about. Fortunately, we don't have that problem in today's show, but let's crack on. What about the predictor? Of the weekend's games, you had an absolute belter, Tam, because you did get 16 points. Look at where you are now. You are closing in on Alison McConnell.
I'm saying more.
I know, but by the way, you could avoid the playoffs if you get it right.
So 22 points clear the Shug, so that's okay. How many weeks have we got left then?
Well, I think we must have.
All in, what, 8?
8 or 9.
Something like that. That's okay.
It's good enough, by the way. It's the loser, as you know, Neil, takes everybody out for a drink and a meal. It's the most expensive bottle of red wine on the thing, and Tam did it last year. And I saw you in a photograph with your man who...
Aye, maybe saying hello to the boys. I took my wife and my wee lass in there for the Mother's Day meal. That was cracking as usual, and he was saying, say hello to the boys, and that's it.
Yeah.
And, good, I think we should just go back there.
Talking about expensive reds.
Okay.
Oh.
This is a story.
We were in Hong Kong with Rangers over 35s, and Barry Scott, prior to him becoming the Rangers director, said, look, we'll take you guys out and go to a rooftop terrace. And that's lovely, fantastic. So the menu comes, Big Ammo spots an Italian red, identifies it, yep, we'll have that. That's fine, great. Deal with that, keep them coming. It's in Chinese.
Oh.
They thought it was price per bottle, it was actually price per glass. So the bill arriving came as a bit of a shock.
Could you give us an estimate of how much that bill was?
I can't actually remember.
It was in an expensive bottle.
It was
Did the club pick up the tab?
no, it was Barry Scott.
Barry Scott, right. Brilliant, eh? Have you ever done that, Ruffy?
No, I've never done that, but I was reading a bit in the paper. A golfer, he's doing a wee question and answer, and he was going favourite food, and he was saying steak, shellfish, whatever, favourite drink, and it was red wine. He says, I won't buy a bottle of red wine under 200, it's not worth it.
Fantastic, isn't it? Do you know what that reminds me of, Ruffy? It was like the day you were on the show in the early years, and you said, we were all saying, what are we doing tonight? And I was saying, I'm going to go out and play five-a-sides, and you said, no, I have to go home and mend to the horses. And I thought, wow, how to distance yourself from the rest of the audience that we've got there. You know what I mean?
A horror story with the wine was 1998. John Boyle had just bought over Motherwell, and he had probably quite rightly, quite cleverly, got and told any Motherwell people. So I'd got a call for his PA saying, oh, John would like to take you out to lunch as the Motherwell guy and all that in the media. I says, well, that'd be lovely. We went out for this long lunch. Started at 12, finished at about 8:30 at night. And out of all the white wines, the red wines, the champagnes, the food, everything, the red wine was particularly good. Spool on, about 2 weeks later, we were down at Shawfield Dugs, as was my wont. And this particular night, me and three of my mates, we were down, there was a stag night taking place, it was a hen night, you couldn't get near the bar, it was mobbed. And I did one of the weeks, I thought I can't be annoyed with this. So I says to my mates, why don't we abandon the Dugs tonight? We'll go into Glasgow, my treat, we'll get a nice meal and that, just sitting in a blether. Oh aye, let's do that, right? So I phoned up the restaurant I'd been in 2 weeks earlier. Any chance I tell hi? Oh yeah, there we go. We went in, it was up at the top of St Vincent Street when you got up the hill heading towards the West End on the right hand side. It'd been a few things down through the years. We were welcomed in by the front of house lady, Sandra, who was magnificent. Oh hi Mr Cowan, how did you enjoy your meal with Mr Boyle? Oh, it was great, it was lovely. These are my pals. Oh hi, sit down. And I said, right boys, I've dragged you away for the Dogs. This is on me definitely, right? Great. So, would you like some wine? I said, well, that red wine that was drink with Mr Boyle, says, you know what's coming next.
Oh, absolutely.
I says,
bankruptcy.
We'll take one of look, this wine came out, oh, lovely, you know what I mean? One became 4, it's 4 years at the meal, right? The bill came, my mates, I said, we'll just divvy this. So I said, no, I'm not starting that. It was me that brought you out, that's it. I love the bill, right? And I looked at it. The meal, the food amounted to nothing. The bottles that John Boyle had ordered, there's red wine, £189 a bottle. And we got 4. And I was sitting there paying a bill. So therein lies a lesson. There's nothing wrong with saying, a fine gentleman who you all know, Tommy Gilmore.
Yes.
Boxing, darts promoter, good guy, couple of quid in his pocket. Tommy is a stickler. If you're out with him, house red, please. Or if you fancy white, house white, please. And that's it.
Yes.
He doesn't even look at a wine list. I think there's a lesson learned there.
I like Tommy's attitude to it. At the weekend, if anything, of all the games that we watched, Neil, were you as bemused and bewildered as most of us on some of the refereeing decisions in the VAR?
Well, the one I paid most attention to, I think, was Celtic Hibs, primarily because I heard comments from Lee Johnson, who was particularly angry about what had gone on. In fairness, the yellow card for the striker is incredibly harsh, considering Carter Vickers is going down almost for a diving header.
I agree with you. Yeah.
And I think Lee Johnson's point was if penalty kicks are getting awarded for shirt tugs in the box, little ones in the box, or slightly manhandling someone in the box, you'd be given 4, 5, 6 penalty kicks every game because it happens. Now, is that a question that referees want to stamp it out so that it doesn't happen as a marker going forward? I don't know. But in both cases, I think both penalties were fairly soft. However, referees might say, look, it's the letter of the law.
Yeah, the problem is you can call for every summit you want, Ruffy. What's it going to achieve? Because if you sit down and you say, well, wait a minute, there's no consistency here, then you question the professionalism of the referees and the VAR and say, how are you coming to this decision? What does the summit achieve? Do you have to analyse every one of the decisions you're peeved with? Do you have to say then, well, wait a minute, you lot have to get better because you're not good enough? And then the referees come back and say, no, wait a minute, we're following the rules here. So they'll dig in, the managers will dig in, the SFA will undoubtedly have to back the referees on this and maybe somehow get a compromise in the middle ground and say, look, we need to work harder at it. And then somebody will come out with the classic line, well, we need professional referees. Well, we're all skint. We haven't got the money to do that. So everybody is well belting up about that.
However, money was found for VAR.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but money was found for VAR, and David Martindale, about 3 or 4 weeks into it, said, hey, by the way, with the cup game, it's not compulsory. I don't want to do it because it could cost me a player at the end of the season.
Yeah. And there's arguments for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call, isn't it?
I think it's the rules one, and Neil's already touched on it. Believe it or not, there are rules out there that a lot of us don't know. Basically, we don't know the rules. Subsection, whatever, all that. And any time they get put into a corner, the referees come out with this, well, this is the rule. And if it is the rule, as Neil said, they've got to go by it. They know better than us. I mean, we see the handball, they don't see. I mean, that's not a rule, that's just an oversight or just bad judgment. But the ones that are the rules, like the tugging the jerseys, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
That's the rules. I know they're implying, but what they will come out with, and I think they did, and I think it was somebody said, well, since we've started, I know everybody's complaining about it, but we're on record here because we keep account. 95% of the VARs are correct. That's what they'll come out with and tell you. But most of the ones are getting right.
We're almost needing to look as well at the rules of geometry, because it's as if we can't even tell what a straight line is.
Well, before you jump in there, what some people are saying, well, I'm just reading one there as well from a gentleman who says, listen, the VAR lines are not the ones that basically at times you see from a camera angle. It's a VAR that they are operating with their cameras, and they are drawing that line.
Right, well, you've got to fix that, because I think that absolute controversy. Then you've got to any images that are put up have got to be the actual images in which a decision is being judged. Because
what about the referees? Would you not ask them to explain it? The VAR. Would you not prefer a rugby situation where they say the VAR is looking at it?
No, I
want the explanation of why you came to that decision.
I think at the end of a game, I said this at the start of the year, I think, and not even for the referee, you'll remember me saying this, take the actual match referee out of the equation. The guy that's sitting in a van somewhere watching all this, I think a wee 5 minutes for that guy at the end of a game, just to speak out about the most controversial decision, And even if they said, you know what, at the end of the game, the guy who's sitting in the van looking at the stuff, the VAR official is going to, you're allowed to challenge him on 3 things. So he's going to mention 3 things, and that's it.
At the end of the game.
Well, what does that achieve? He's not been in the heat of the moment. Now, you're wanting an explanation what's happened. So that's that. For something that is absolutely contentious, and we go back to one of the worst, let's say the 2 Celtic Hearts incidents that everybody still talks about, and these were 2 of the original ones. The Bernabeu one, when he's back to the play, hits the arm, and then the Michael Smith one that wasn't given, just at the end of the game you could say, right, can you just explain that? Because everybody has seen, we saw it when it happened, we saw the replays, and we've now seen the still photography, still image. Can you just explain it? Because when these lines come out, and the one with Fashion Sakala and yes, Max Johnson in the Motherwell Rangers game, it just looked farcical.
Here's the thing though, what happens if the VAR guys go, right, we agree to that, and then they have to basically say it was in our opinion, our interpretation of the VAR on this is Michael Smith's hand was in a position where he could do nothing about the ball coming towards him. It's not a penalty. We all go mental anyway.
Well, that's the thing though, although I do think people in the main would have respect for a bit of clarity post-match. People can make mistakes, but if they explain the logic of the decision, then you can say, okay, you agree with it, you don't, right? But at least they've explained how they've arrived at that decision with no clarity or no explanation. It leaves a void for people to...
And can I ask you this? Do you not think, though, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here, Ruffy, we're talking about it with Tam there, do you not think then if we go, and now we break away from the manager's interviews because we've got the 5 minutes now with Andrew Dallas, who's going to explain why he came to those decisions, and he explains the three of them, and then people all go tonto at the referee who's explained the decisions, so suddenly he's in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, but I think at least you're getting an explanation. The one I would like the guy up in the VAR room to explain to me the Considine one, what he's seen or what he didn't see. Because that was blatant hand. I mean, he stuck his hand up in there and the ball's hit his hand. So what's the VAR guy seen that's no penalty? I would like that explanation. I would like something like that.
What, Peter,
to say,
it's never going to happen, but when you were nudging towards the rugby thing there, if you thought, how great would it be if you thought that wee chat that the referee has with VAR, if that was audio right over the stadium, right? Can you imagine? That would be tremendous. That would be terrific.
It would be fantastic because...
But folk would still, even though if there was a full explanation for both parties, the referee and the VAR, and even though if anybody even with half a brain was thinking, yeah, okay, I can understand that, it's just going to create further controversy because folk are never ever going to agree about things, particularly if it's a decision that goes against their team.
Ian Docherty says Peter will never forget that Michael Smith decision. I never brought it up.
It's me.
You brought it up.
I thought they were two of the original ones this season.
In fact, I would give them see that Michael Smith decision? I didn't even see it because I was 3 sheets to the wind. I was on my 9th Corona.
Right.
I was a guest of my mate who was a Hearts fan. I was off that day.
That early on, you could give them the benefit of the doubt because that was really early on in VAR, that Celtic Hearts game.
Yeah, it was.
So you would say maybe, all right, interpretation, let's see what happens this season. But as it goes on, it's getting worse. Particularly the handball one.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's if I look at Rangers and Celtic's perspective, because as Tam said, every club has got a gripe about certain things. I mean, the handball that was given against Greg Taylor recently, where the player's in the box and he's lifted it up onto his hand. Do is that a penalty really?
But the problem is, and I get this, because, having lived in Edinburgh for 12 years and, you kind of take yourself out of the madness of the west of Scotland, and you really start to understand clubs out with Rangers and Celtic who get so miffed listening to them bleating on as if because they're contesting things at the top end of the table that theirs is worth more. The merit of their complaint gathers more weight than a Motherwell, a Hibs or a Hearts. It really annoys people. And here's one here. We're in a situation where Rangers and Celtic played in the old Firm game, right? There was a contentious decision. At that week, did we get to the Wednesday or the Thursday? We were still discussing it and they wanted a summit.
Yep.
They called for a summit with the SFA. Now, Dundee United are now calling for a summit, but I don't, there's no real mayhem that's on the back pages for Dundee United's plight because Dundee United's plight, I cannot believe the referee turned around and thought, the boy Ayini has actually fouled Curtis Main. He didn't even see him. He was holding like that, and he gave a penalty against him.
You know what? It's only see if something comes to a head. You know the game it's going to be. Let's be brutally honest. It'll be the Scottish Cup semi-final. Celtic against Rangers in the Scottish Cup, and see when you consider everything, the odd wee handball here or a decision or a line offside. There's no really been a mega VAR controversy yet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no been
there was none in the last game. I don't know if he was on was he on a code red? I don't know if you've seen a few good men. Don't mention it.
See when you think what's at stake here, the bookies will tell you that if Celtic win that semi-final, then the treble is theirs. The bookies will tell you that, right? So there's a huge amount of pressure on this game for both teams. Can Rangers get a bit of silverware? No disrespect to the other two semi-finalists, of course, but again, when you look at the odds, that's what everybody would imagine. Or are Celtic going to have another, DVD out of the treble at the end of the season? Huge amounts of pressure surrounding this game, and I just wonder if this is where the wee nuclear warhead is going to go off.
But if you remember rightly, back, say, 15 years or more, Vladimir Romanov said that actual Scottish football is corrupt. because of the football or the referee decisions against.
Yeah, I wouldn't be quoting him in a court of law.
not actually against Hearts. Every other club apart from Rangers and Celtic.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we've got all sorts of comments coming in from people here. But Bartholomew says, Peter, it's no different than any other league in the world. And he's absolutely right, because, we were talking about it off air, but Ruffy, Bayer Leverkusen are playing. The boy goes into the penalty box, falls down. The referee gives him a yellow card. The VAR boy says, you better go and have a look at it. Has a look, comes back, rescinds his yellow card, gives Leverkusen a penalty. They score. The same guy, only moments later, goes into the penalty box, falls down again. The referee comes up, laughs at him and goes, there, I've got you this time. VAR says, go back and have a look. He goes back, rescinds the yellow card again, and Leverkusen get another penalty.
See, that's why I'm agreeing with Tam. It's the guy upstairs that's causing all the problems, because the referee's got to make a decision as he sees it.
Well,
right, so he's only getting one thing. So the boy up the stairs now get the chance to see it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and he's still not getting it right. But at least the referee in the park, has to make a decision there and then, and that's why he's getting it wrong.
At least we have a solution. In the back pages of today's papers, Ali McCoist has suggested that what will solve it if you get ex-players in charge of the VAR, and he says Ali McCoist and Chris Sutton should do the VAR in the next Old Firm game. That'll not cause any bother, will it?
Absolutely.
Dear me.
Yeah.
I don't think you've got as well with that. Has Ali checked his diary? I mean, you know what it's like. Ali, there's every chance Ali will not turn up for his own funeral. They'd probably say to him, right, Ali, you and Chris Sutton, you can do the VAR, and then Ali, where's Ali? Where is he? Game's about his start, So, but that's not going to happen,
Well, listen, everybody seems to be angry this week. It's incredible in football. Even some of the people on here talking about VAR just losing the plot completely. But some of the Scotland camp not happy, because the number 2, John Carver, was discussing the forthcoming double-header. We've got Cyprus and Spain on the way as Scotland get ready to play these Euro 2024 qualifiers. So we sent our man Adam Binney out there to find out why John Carver was ranting and raving today.
It's International Week and we are being treated to a Hampden doubleheader this weekend as Scotland take on Cyprus here on Saturday before hosting Spain on Tuesday night. But it's a little bit of a different camp this week. Usually the players and staff would be at the Oriam over in Edinburgh, but they've made the move to Lesser Hampden, the facility owned by Queen's Park. Now, speaking to assistant coach John Carver earlier this afternoon, and it's fair to say he was not the best fan of the previous facility.
Well, it looked good on the eye. You guys were there quite often, and you only seen us working in small areas. But for some reason, the surface would just give away. So to the guys who were training on it, for me, it was a safety hazard. It was a health risk. And I'm surprised we didn't get any really serious injuries from it.
However, no complaints from John Carver about the new facility at Lesser Hampden. The players trained on it for the first time this morning, and it's fair to say Carver and his coaching staff are delighted with the new surface.
That facility that we've trained on this morning, inside the dressing rooms, I don't know if you guys have seen it, is amazing. But the amount of people that have done so much hard work behind the scenes, again, is incredible, considering it's Queen's Park's facility. And the surface, and I'll give you a great example. The surface is Premier League standard, right? We haven't had one player slip on the surface this morning.
Well, they've got a fair bit of money behind it, haven't they? And they've got it right.
Yeah, they have. I mean, I think Willie Hockey's piled a lot of money into it. You'd expect the surface to be pristine. There's nobody playing on it. They're playing all their games at Stenhousemuir. So it should be brand new. There shouldn't be any problems at all. So, I mean, I've never been over to the Oriam. I don't know how bad that is, but certainly that should be a pristine surface to train on.
Well, I've been up there at the Oriam. The inside park is huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge. It's Astro. And then you've got the grass parks outside as well. But he's possibly, I think, he's looked at it and thought, I don't like this. I don't like that artificial surface, Neil, anyway. I don't think top flight footballers should be, training on it.
No, I would think at that level they'd play in grass and train in grass at all times. Although I'm pretty sure Hearts train at Oriam, don't they? So they'd have use of grass pitches. So, you know, they should be of a high standard, I would have thought, albeit John Carver doesn't seem to think so.
No.
But in terms of Queen's Park, I mean, Lesser Hampden throughout the decades has been a good quality playing surface. And obviously it's been upgraded to an even higher standard now. So,
well, they're getting ready for the Premier League.
Well, that's it.
I'll say that once again.
Yeah.
They're getting ready for the Premier League. It's outrageous, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you know, Scotland, I'm sure in the past, like many moons ago, would have trained at Lesser Hampden as well. So it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Do you know when they were last in the top flight, Queen's Park? Have a guess.
1875.
No, see, I thought that as well.
1940
1958. It's actually more recently you would have imagined, you know.
It's
But
a good line, isn't it? They were in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, that's right. But they're looking good for coming up. But just it's a great story and well deserved. You know, they've done it all properly. We know that Willie Hockey's chucked plenty of money in, but it's great. They brought in Leanne Dempster. You know, fantastic. Hats off to them. Owen Coyle, proper football man. It's all good.
Yep, and they're going to beat Partick Thistle to the Premier League.
To the Premier League.
They look as if they're...
That's a wee while to go, yeah.
A wee bit to go yet, but
Still confident, Ruffy?
I think if the boys went on a run for now at the end of the season, there's every chance, because everybody will beat everybody else.
Where are you now in the league?
Fourth.
Right. Well, again, the playoffs.
Third and fourth are all, but
magical playoffs, which really gave a wee boost, I think, to Scottish football the years ago.
I tell you,
great inception.
The two teams that finish in the bottom of the Premiership won't be confident of beating a Championship team.
No.
Because the Champion teams look at, you know, Livingston getting turned over by Inverness, so that can happen.
Yeah. Still think you could make it?
Yeah.
Although I think it's heavily weighted against the Championship teams, given the number of games they've got to play in a short space of time.
There's nobody for third or fourth with them.
Yeah. What do you know about Dominic Hyam? Because he's been called into the squad. Jack Hendry's dropped out. 27-year-old.
Yeah.
Games for Blackburn, and obviously he's looking towards going to the Premier League, but I think any additional players that we can get for those centre-back spots who are half decent, get them in.
Yeah, well, it just shows you how wide the net's been thrown now. You know, obviously they have scouts down there looking at every Scottish player that's available. You know, they probably had their eye on him for a wee while for something like this happening. So, fair dues to them. You know, they have to be in contact with players that we don't know that are Scottish down there playing in the lower leagues. So, let's see how good he is.
Yeah,
what was the last almost instantly recognisable centre-half pairing that we had in Scotland colours? I know when you get back, you get Miller and McLeish, and you think even domestically.
Henry Calderwood?
No, I mean, I think...
Who were two that you thought they'd be first names on the team sheet for Scotland in those positions? Because it seems that we just keep chopping and changing. He
was much maligned, but Gary Caldwell was the centre-back for a long period as well. And McManus.
Caldwell McManus, at the time Caldwell scoring against France.
Yeah. But even then, they were absolutely pilloried, you know, as well, because if you don't make it, everybody starts analysing. We're all like this. If you don't make it, they start, you know, having a real go at the certain people in certain positions, not good enough. So they were good enough to beat France twice, and a dodgy decision against Italy. Can't let it go. Sorry, Neil.
And what's this boy's background? Hyam, what's is he?
I think he played
Scottish.
Scottish. He played 21s, didn't he? Played under 21s.
All the way up to 21s, yeah. So he's got a good Scottish background, but let's see if he's any good. Fingers crossed. And our producers just said he was born in Fife. Is that good enough Scottish for you?
Brilliant.
Yeah, happy with that?
Absolutely. No, I'm not. I know the rules have been twisted out of shape years ago. I'm just wondering what this guy's. I don't quite. Is it Brian Gunn's boy that had already played for England?
Yeah, you happy with that? Everybody's twisting the rules.
I know the audio.
If Tony Cascarino's son comes up and he can play centre half, we're having him.
I know, but it just seems that we're getting, dare I say, the brown end of the stick again. It seems that we're getting sloppy seconds, whatever you want to call it. Like, right, okay, I've already represented England. Don't think I'm going to make any leeway there. I'm not good enough. Oh, they're Scotland. I'll just go to them. There's a wee bit that sticks in my craw with that.
Listen, as long as they play well and they've got the legitimate pathway through the rules, get them in. Let's see if we can get to a World Cup as well as a European Championships as well. Anthony Ralston, I can tell you, has got a late call up for the games against Cyprus in Spain. I suppose we're all looking and saying 3 out of 6 would be all right, Ruffy?
It would. I think we need to win our early games, because I was noticing there, I think 3 of the 4, the end 4, are away from home, so better get points on the board very quickly. Some we don't generally do. We generally hanging on at the last game, needing something out of it. So I hope that's not the case this time.
Yeah, if we beat Spain, the whole place starts going mental. Although I have to say, the Scotland fans are certainly going mental because the 150th anniversary shirts come out and you can't get one anywhere. Everybody loves this new design.
It is good to have a bit of a feel-good factor back with the national team, that's true.
You happy with that?
Oh, it's a cracker.
It is, it looks good, doesn't it? It's a good retro feel to it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, 90 quid.
Although I think I was a
Much?
I was
90.
90 quid.
90 quid. You get apparently a free bottle of John Boyle's Red with it. So,
Has he got a Jim Baxter number 6 on it?
12 winners.
Well, I was more a fan of a 78 or 82 World Cup jersey. I liked them.
I must say,
is that a generational thing?
Yeah, I guess so.
78 Admiral with a wee
No,
bits
Umbro.
in
It was
Umbro,
Umbro,
right,
yeah.
sorry, aye. That was a cracker, the one that you can see Archie Gemmell in.
Yes.
Absolutely
That was-
superb.
that was an
That is a
Umbro.
topper. You know what I'd say as well? They've all got to go for the unisex market, of course, in this day and age, and that looks like the one that you had there, the 150th top. That looks quite the thing for just cutting about without it being too football-y. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's great, and it's flying out everywhere. It's sold out everywhere. I mean, so fair play to them. Great. Apart from anything else, you can have a good marketing campaign, but you still got to have a good product, and it looks the business.
It's great, and they've got the Scotland-England game as well. I don't know the date of that.
for the 150th anniversary.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Brings back memories for you, Ruffy. Just ripping up the park, then dismantling the goalposts, then just all sorts of what did Rod Petrie call it? Exuberance.
Over exuberance.
Yeah, over exuberance. Even Gordon Strachan was on the park at Wembley with his friends. Erling Haaland, I noticed, is pulled out of the squad for Norway in their qualifiers. It would be great if he could pull out long before we ever have to face him, Ruffy, on June 17th.
I know, he's just unbelievable, isn't he?
He's just getting a bit frightening, isn't he? I mean, he's just...
But Peter, tell you what, surely you don't want a guy like him to pull out. I mean, all right, you might gaze a bit of a doofing, but they're the guys you want to watch. I mean, that'd be great watching him.
Who's the last player that you've played against? Obviously, I know you're going to say Kubias and Zico, but who is the last player that you can think of you were absolutely scared of at international level and you thought, oh, God, he's going to batter us, and he did?
Luka Modric.
Yes. Remember they said he was past it? And there was people saying he was past it. God, he was brilliant.
He took the name out of my mouth, but I'll go back a bit further then. This guy was absolutely dynamite at the time. A lot of folk thought he was one of the best midfielders in the world at the time, and I did have a feeling that Gazza was going to inflict some damage upon Scotland in '96, and lo and behold he did with that amazing goal. He was just exceptional. I mean, I remember blanking we were out for a drink, one of my pals, I think it was his 21st birthday, and we were in my mate's hotel in Motherwell, and I'd never done this before, but I almost sneaked away for the party, and because you knew everybody in the hotel, I got one of the keys for the rooms, and just to go up, nothing untoward whatsoever, and I went up into one of the rooms just to sit on the edge of one of the beds, on the wee portable, and watch sports scene, because it was the time that Gazza, mind he absolutely annihilated. It was at Aberdeen or
Hearts?
Aberdeen was it a hat-trick guy, you know, and again, you'd have seen the clips, if it had been nowadays, you'd have seen them on your phone and all that, you know, but there's just all this word spread, and folk had talked about, I heard on the radio Gazza got some hat-trick and all that, you know. I thought, I can't miss that tonight, you know, and away up, blanking my pals, blanking the drink, blanking the party, just to watch him in full flow. He was incredible, you know.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that, don't forget Neil's got a copy on Betamax. He's still kept it.
Were you playing in that game?
I wasn't playing though.
No, right.
Were you in the stand?
I was.
Yeah.
It was a great view. The third goal, outstanding.
It was. Do you know what I remember about that? I mean, I worked alongside Jerry McNee at STV, and I remember Jerry saying in the commentary, I think Gascoigne's looking tired, and he decided to run the entire length of the pitch and bang into the corner. It was with a left peg as well. It was a good.
Did Jerry call Gascoigne or the number 8?
Well, he did get through a wee phase of that as well. Although I have to say, and you know Gazza from his time of devilment at Rangers, there was one day when he came out for the warm-up and started scalping the ball up into the commentary to try and get him the ball. It was funny, you know, but Jerry obviously was able to duck and dive.
The 1999 game when Paul Scholes did his damage against us in the first leg, the 2 goals at Hampden, remember?
Yeah.
And we were doing the radio from Hampden just before the actual match, And then, very courteously, there was a company had invited Stuart and myself to go into their kind of box to then see the game. And we thought, oh, great, that's it. We were just going to get a normal seat somewhere. But we were in. And then, as I'm looking through the glass, this is the BT stand, so you're looking through the glass to one of the next boxes, right? It was a big double take. And who did I see there? But with a small plate of food, the wee prawn sandwich perhaps, the wee glass of wine, and one of the wee cigarillos, the wee small cigars, but Mr. Jerry Coates, fat cat, like me, tolerated everything for that, So I'm looking about, and finally there was one of the girls that was serving in the wee lounge where I said, "Have you any big bits of paper you could get me?" And she came back with this big bit of card, right, and I got a pen, and then I put any fat cats in today, Jerry, and I stood, and just because everyone was bedlam, it took him an eternity to look in my direction, right, but once he did, it was fun. Oh, it was brilliant. He gave me the wee thumbs up as if to say, caught,
Brilliant. Listen, there's
Jerry sadly missed. I know he's retired at Donegal. He had a place out there.
Yeah.
But, I think you should get him on here.
He was
a one-off special with Jerry looking through the career.
Yeah, I think we'd have to... Listen, Allah doesn't come to the mountain would have to go to Allah, to be honest with you. Although he used to say to me, Ruffy, because you know what it's like, journalism, you live and die by your contacts. And I used to have the book, and I'd try and build up as many contacts as I could. And Jerry used to pull out and he said, "I've only got this little white book with all the biggies." And I used to think, gleefully, knock your pan in one day, But he'd laugh his head off. He was a good noise up, but he annoyed the life out of so many people in football at the time. And of course, he would have relished this whole battle because only 9 games left. I'm looking at the table. It was 6 points, and then again, Celtic go back, make it 9 points at the weekend. And now we're looking at the situation where everybody wants to have a pub argument about it. I love it the way, Ali McCoist was talking about this whole situation between Rangers and Celtic and whether there's a gap.
I think the gap's closed. I definitely think the gap's closed. That's my opinion. Looking at it, League Cup final wasn't a lot in it. Celtic probably just the better team. The game at Ibrox, the league game, thought Celtic started well. Rangers probably should have won the game. Maybe a trainer thought that Celtic just slightly get the advantage at this moment in time. But I don't think it's the gaps, what it once was.
It's a strange argument to have, Neil, because we were talking about Jerry McNee there. In my first stint at STV as a reporter, I can remember all this hullabaloo about Celtic potentially closing the gap on Rangers, and Rangers just kept winning the league. And it didn't matter if there was only a league title race where it was maybe 3 points or 4 points. It didn't matter that people thought they were closing the gap. It was who was winning the title at the end of it. Right now I look at it and say, even if Celtic won the league by 12, 15 points or Rangers cut it down to 3, it doesn't matter. It's who's lifting the trophy. And each year that goes by, when you win that trophy, the other team then has to, as Michael Beale is facing now, he has to try and regenerate that side and change it to go again.
Yeah, it's all about winning and losing at the end of the day. Celtic win the semi-final, then there'll be recriminations and there'll be a massive gap between the two teams. People will say Rangers need new players. Rangers win the game, maybe they win some silverware, then it will be more of a narrative of maybe there's not quite such a big gap and maybe we only need 1 or 2 special players. It's about winning and losing at the end of the day. And I think in terms of performances, I think I said before, Celtic have not been standing still. They've actually been improving every year. They've been bringing new players that have made a difference to the team. And I think that's what Rangers need to do. I think going forward is players that they bring should be starting 11 players. I think in the summertime, when they brought players, they're not starting 11 players. The Turkish left back, okay, he's injured, which hasn't been great. Davies injured, hasn't been great. Matonda doesn't play.
Suter.
Suter. So there's players that came in the summer that haven't made an impact in the team. Now they might still make an impact in the team in times to come, but I think it is an important summer for Rangers to get the correct players and try and close that gap to Celtic, because undoubtedly there is one at the minute. Nobody can deny it.
Yeah, and that gap, Ruffy, again as it moves on, that gap can not only be closed, but it can quickly just be flipped. It just depends if they've got the money and they've got the right players that they can bring in with the right recruitment, which obviously has to appease the fans because they're calling for Stuart Robertson and Ross Wilson to get out of the club. But if the right players come in, it can flip. I mean, Martin O'Neill flipped it with Dick Advocaat and won, as soon as he kicked off.
Yeah, but I think that's why some of the Rangers supporters are a bit worried. They think the two people that have been doing it so far aren't good enough. And if you give them the licence to do it again, are they going to make a mess of it? Are they going to be better? So it's your own opinion of the players they've brought in. You've already identified a lot of them have been injured, which isn't a good thing. But for me, it's if I look at the two teams on any given day, and Celtic are more exciting for me. I think they've got more exciting players. I think they entertain more. The brand of football they're playing is better than Rangers. So it's up to Rangers to sort of bring better players in.
The game that did it for me in terms of Celtic maybe having the killer instinct, it was the recent Partick Thistle tie with Rangers when I think everyone was a bit overshadowed by the wee sportsmanship episode,
Yeah.
But when you actually take that out of the equation and look at 3-2 it ended up, folk would struggle to remember the score perhaps, but you just get a feeling that if it had been Celtic that night against Partick Thistle, that they could easily have done them for 6 or 7 goals, and that to me is a difference between the two teams now, how clinical they are and just how quick they are going forward. And I would have loved, don't get me wrong, watching at the top end of the league where I don't have a dug in the race, of course, but looking at when Hibs were winning 1-0 for quite a long time at Celtic Park at the weekend, you started looking and thinking, if Hibs can hold out here, it's a wee bit exciting, it gives it a real proper feel of a title race. But I think, what were the stats in that game? With certainly the second half, it was something quite
24
incredible.
shots.
Aye, and Celtic's possession would have been,
I think it was something like 78 or something like that.
Yeah. But maybe then that, rather than saying, Celtic, faltered nearly, maybe what you say there is that even when Celtic were up against it, and everybody's thinking, can Hibs sneak something here, that ultimately Celtic come out on top. They've got that quality where it matters. But it'd be great to get a right good title race.
I think what they've also got is, when things aren't going well after 60, 70 minutes, they can bring 3 on that make a difference.
Yes.
A Haksabanovic or Abada or if he's coming on as a sub, they've got impact players, they've got a group of players that are all competing to play in the starting 11, and even the ones that aren't in the starting 11, when they come on the park, they make a difference.
Yeah, I think that's the key element of it, and that's probably why King Kenny says that it's a tall order for Michael Beale to make any inroads this season on Celtic's dominance.
Since he's come in, what's he done? He's lost 1 game, drawn 1. Celtic. And that doesn't matter about all the other results he's had. They're the ones that he's got to win. It's a wee bit unfair to expect him coming in straight away and being able to beat them. But that's what his ambition and the Rangers supporters' ambitions has got to be, that they can overtake Celtic.
And that's going to be the big task. Obviously, topic, just a quick one here. I'll go through some little things I want to get your thoughts on, guys. Lee Johnson, touchline ban. He'll miss some key games for Hibs at home because he was clearly, I think, miffed, picking up a yellow card for complaining about some of the decisions at the weekend. I think there's a few managers will be picking up. I'm amazed some managers are actually not getting a few huge fines for biting their tongue after the post-match press conferences.
Yeah, well, if you get caught once, the next time you get caught, you're going to get more, and then the next time, I've always said the manager should be on the touchline, to motivate the players and that, but I think you get a better view up in the stand.
I can hear the echoes of Jock Wallace saying, if I need to motivate you, son, you shouldn't be at Rangers. It's a great line, isn't it? What about your old gaffer, St Mirren? Do you think they're trying to head off any approach from elsewhere? They're trying to extend.
I know what you're saying, because it's all going very, very quiet at Aberdeen, and I think maybe a lot of folks surprised by the fact that, in the face of it, that Alan Burrows hasn't done anything yet. There's not been anything really that we've heard from the new chief executive. He was a big fan of Stephen Robinson. A lot of folk know that, but I think fair play to a guy like Barry Robson, who back in his day when he cut out the silly stuff, I always thought was a smashing player. He liked a wee elbow now and again, Barry, right? But the bottom line is, Peter, that at the weekend they are 3-0 against Hearts, who were awful by all accounts. They had the Pittodrie crowd singing. Now, they don't sing a lot anyway. They have not much to sing about this season, but they were all singing one Barry Robson, there's only one Barry Robson. So that had been taken on board, although there are folk maybe thinking, including a gentleman I know up in Aberdeen who until recently was involved in the club, and they reckon if you're going to have a wager, get the smart money on Barry Robson as the number 2 for whoever comes in.
Yes, I think so.
You know, but yeah, well, you know, St Mirren should look after Stevie Robinson then, and Stevie Robinson himself finds himself in that great position. He's wanted. That's what every manager wants, you know. So get him tied up.
Absolutely. There's a good game on tonight, Ruffy. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Well, you won't actually, because you're playing tennis. Second versus third, Dundee against Ayr United in the Championship.
Yes, a big one for Dundee. I think Dundee were the favourites at the beginning of the season, but they went a bit off the rails a wee bit, you know. Not winning games and drawing them, you know, but fair dues to Ayr United. You know, getting knocked out the Scottish and still hanging on in there. And their objective would have been a playoff, you know, but the only winner out of this so far is Queen's Park, because everybody is just carving each other up.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, so Ruffy's taking the words out of my mouth. They said it's more likely that's going to be a draw and they're going to cut each other's throats. And,
I was going to say that to you. Here's a question for you then, Ruffy. When was the last time Ayr United were in the top flight? That's a belter of a question. 78. What about you?
When was I there?
Yeah.
I think
when was I there? He's such an arrogant so-and-so, isn't he? You were nearly there. 77, 78. I think, do you want to tell you something? I'm thinking back to my chewing gum cards. I think guys like Walker McCall would have been in the side then. Is that fair? Do you remember the big guy that played at Aberdeen as well? He was a big, tall, blonde-haired striker. You don't remember?
Called Perry. I remember that name for my cards as well, at United, Perry.
Just when you mentioned cards there, did you see the story this morning about the Panini card of a special Panini card that somebody had? It wasn't Messi, it was somebody else.
Tell me, because this could be the difference.
Exactly, I know.
On the show tomorrow and just saying, Neil, don't bother coming back. Ruffy, I'll see you later. Goodbye, I'm off skate.
It's a lot of money.
What was the name of the card?
What was it for?
It wasn't Messi.
Ruffy, can I just say something? You don't ever come on this programme and you don't know the actual name of the card.
Keep talking about yourself.
Okay, yep, that's the name of the show. Anyway, there's something to look forward to at the weekend if you're not into the international football. I know Tam McManus struggles when there's no domestic football, Tam, but we've got the SPFL Trust Trophy final. Wraith Rovers are looking...
And for clarity, that's the old B&Q Cup.
Yes, right. The Wraith Rovers are aiming to try and get the trophy for the third time. Obviously, this is Hamilton Accies are in it as well. So it's two familiar faces that are talking about it. We sent our reporter, Kerry Pollock, out to find out what the thoughts were ahead of this big final.
Here at the Falkirk Stadium is where the SPFL Trust Trophy final will take place between Wraith Rovers and Hamilton Academical. Neither side has had the best run of form in the league as of late, and with Hamilton trying to beat the drop of relegation, John Rankin says the cup has been a welcome distraction for his side and says there's only one way to have a successful final.
I don't think we've caused them enough problems this season when we've played against them, so Sunday we're looking to turn the tables and have a really good final, and I think you only have a good final by winning a final, so we have to go and enjoy the experience of it. A lot of players haven't played in a final before, but they're looking forward to it, and that's the important thing. And come Sunday, the important thing is they remember to play. Don't get caught up in the occasion, go and play and enjoy yourself, and the only way you enjoy a final is by winning it.
As for Ian Murray's Wraith Rovers side, they came into this fixture hoping to defend the title, having won it last time round, and has to admit he's been impressed with Hamilton's performances despite their position in the league table.
I've seen a huge improvement at Hamilton since Christmas time. Didn't surprise me. We played them just after Christmas and we managed to win 1-0 in the game, but I felt at that time we'd got them just a week early at the right time. I was really happy to have them because I knew they were going to get better. They had added really good players to their squad. They had changed their system of play. They were much quicker. They were getting players forward the park at a much greater pace, and it came as no surprise to me when Hamilton went on a decent run and hauled themselves back to try and stay in the league.
It all takes place here at the Falkirk Stadium. It's the SPFL Trust Trophy final between Wraith Rovers and Hamilton. Kick-off is at 4:15.
Yeah, looking forward to that one, Ruffy. And he's right about Hamilton Accies. John Rankin's done a great job with them.
A lot better than what it were at the beginning. Again, they're winning the odd game here and there, but no consistency whatsoever. Get beat again at the weekend. I think.
They're level with Arbroath.
Yeah,
at the
no,
bottom.
but they're still down there. They're still.
You tipping them for a
fighting
drop?
it. Yeah, I think they will be there or thereabouts, but I think Wraith Rovers are on a wee bit of form just now, a big win at the weekend. I think they've taken a wee bit of encouragement after the Rangers game as well, although they get beat 3-0. So they're hanging about the playoffs as well. They're not distance for that.
Yeah, there's lots of things happening on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, as well as that documentary on David Martindale. We cover all areas of football and try and bring you some stories that you might want to look at. Of course, we're talking about managers with experience. Roy Hodgson, it looks as if he's back in as the manager at Crystal Palace at 70.
What age is he?
At 75.
Is he?
Meanwhile, Adam Binney has been out there looking at one of the youngest managers in the game at Kilsyth Amateurs.
He's no shy in telling you how he feels.
And I've seen all for the guys in front of me here. 7 to 8 minutes, you get a shot on target in the game. 7 to 8 minutes, and a title decider. That's not acceptable, lads. No, that's a 1v1 and he's 10 yards ahead of you. Wake up.
Oh, I like that. Look, hey, it's a good one, isn't it? Hey, it's a brilliant preview of that there that's going to be released on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I mean, we're doing Kilsyth Amateurs. Yeah. David Martindale's clearly coached them on how to chat to the players in the dressing room. It's good stuff, isn't it, Dave?
It's a bit of a throwback.
It is, isn't it? You remember those days, don't you, Neil?
I do, and look, sometimes there's a place for it as well, isn't there? You know, I think players get it too easy these days. Sometimes they probably need a wake-up call.
Right, can I ask you this then? You've got to be honest about it. What type of player were you? Were you the player that if somebody absolutely slaughtered you, that you wanted to respond to say, I'm going to get him back, I'm going to go out there and prove a point? Or did you get into your shell and not respond? Because Ruffy was one of those players that he didn't really like managers shouting at him.
Do you know, there were three of us that are the same age.
Right.
So Stephen Presley, myself and Davy Hagan. And Hagee was a fantastic player, great athlete, both feet, you know, great in the air, incredible motor on him, but couldn't handle the criticism. So me and Presley would be the type that would give it to the manager, and you know, the manager gets what he wants in the end, right? But you've given him it. Whereas Hagee would just fold. I mean, there was one time Billy Kirkwood gave him at half time. You've been on any fags, you're a disgrace. 10 minutes later, I had to take him off. It was that bad.
Is that right?
Aye.
So he couldn't respond.
Couldn't respond.
Yeah. But he was a good player too, wasn't he?
He was a great player, you know. But David Hagan was a bit different. So we played in the Scotland team, and we're on the bus, and he never really played too much. And we're sitting in the bus. It was raining, and he turned around to me and he's like, "I don't fancy it today." I said, "What do you mean you don't fancy it?" Nah, I'm not really up for it. I mean, you don't really get too many opportunities. I said, just go out and play, you know, do what you do, it's fine. Yeah. And half time, hooked. Aye, hooked. But he just didn't have that reaction or that mentality.
I could never understand when you come into a dressing room and you're all sitting there and the manager would come in and he'd pick one guy in particular and absolutely slaughter him. I mean, tear him to shreds in front of all his teammates and expect him to go out in the second half and turn it on.
Aye.
I could never get my head around. No, if it is the kind of person that needs it, but if it's not, if it's a person who needs it, the arm round, and you're slaughtering them.
Well, there's that brilliant story, the one with Hamish McAlpine. Dundee United were at Celtic Park back in the day, and Jim McLean came in and slaughtered Hamish McAlpine at half time, and Hamish, I think, must have been at breaking point, and he basically gave it one of them to Jim McLean that went in for a shout. I said, I'm not going out there in the second half, you know. And they were at the stage of Jim McLean defiantly wanted to put Paul Hegarty in goals, right, you go in goals, you go in goals, right. And Jim McLean with his backroom staff and that was finally talked to, and he said, don't we can't do that, that's just utterly ridiculous. We're playing Celtic at Celtic Park, you know. And there's this magnificent clip that somebody dug out for me a while ago. You see the teams, they managed to talk Hamish McAlpine round, right, and you see the teams coming out for the second half, and Hamish has clearly just come out the shower, his hair and everything soaking, so they'd almost talked him into it. Come on, you better play him off, sorry, whatever he does. I'm sure Jim McLean didn't even apologise, but you know, just mad moments like that.
Gosh,
brilliant.
I must admit, you know, if you're playing for for the big clubs. I don't know. I mean, I've known a few footballers who didn't want to go on as well. I mean, Tevez was the classic one, didn't want to go on for the last 5 minutes of a game, but you'd give your right arm to go out and play in any of these big games. What about their competition? Well, last week we had Keith, I hope I've got his name right. He's from Kirkcaldy, who's the winner of our competition. And Keith, we'll be sending the poster and the top to you. It's Keith Berry, so well done to you for that. This week's competition, again, we're trying to cover as many clubs as possible, and the High Bees fans will certainly relish these 3 great prints and of course a few signatures on there from Gio Thompson.
It's another unbelievable competition from PLZ Soccer. You can win these fantastic Gio Thompson prints, including this signed print of Hibs legend Pat Stanton, commemorating Hibernian's 2016 Scottish Cup win, if you answer this simple question. Who scored the winning goal in that memorable Cup final against Rangers? Post your answer in the comment section below, and to double your chances of winning, don't forget to subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. Okay, oldest player in Serie A, Rafi?
I'm going to go for... I hope he did play in Serie A. Inzaghi.
Simone Inzaghi.
Yeah.
Zlatan, yes, absolutely. 41 years, 5 months and 15 days old. He scored at the weekend. Obviously it was a 3-1 defeat.
I know that, I guess.
Not quite good.
Well, I'll give you one.
Would you have gone for Zlatan?
Yeah.
Who did he overtake? Which player did he overtake?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it?
The second oldest now.
The second oldest player. I should have read on the second paragraph.
Aldini.
Ooh, kind of close.
Was it his era?
Hold on, was it Costa Curta?
That's the one.
Yeah, you are. Costa Curta. What a team they were, weren't they? Fantastic. Just out of curiosity, just before we go, no, we'll get it another day. We'll get it next Tuesday, I'll tell you that. How to annoy everybody with that question.
What's the drama there at the end?
Thank you very much to Tam, to Neil and to Ruffy. Join us tomorrow if you can. We'll give you a little snippet of that David Martindale piece that we've got coming out. It's Friday. Friday it's coming out. My story, David Martindale, Livingston manager. Great little documentary. I hope you like it because it's a fly in the wall documentary and it's well worth watching, believe me.
If you like to Shawshank Redemption, you'll love this.
Yes, it's one of those. Join... I don't know where he's going. I'm having a Vietnamese flashback. Thanks for watching.